Why, hello, everyone, and welcome to this little podcast slash webinar FAQ. This is a FAQ based off of the AI Generator Gold program. In other words, you have questions about AI Generator Gold and how the program works, and we're here to answer those questions. So with me on deck is my longtime buddy and business partner, Tony Leidig. Tony, welcome, and let's jump in and tell folks about how great this program is and how it works.
Yeah, well, probably makes sense, Daniel, to just start right off at the beginning, and that is to answer what exactly generators are and how do they work.
Yeah, awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take over the screen here, and I want to start with this generator. So this is one of the great things about generators is you can easily partner with other organizations, other events, other influencers and experts, and use their know-how, their expertise to create basically a piece of software, a no-code piece of software that then you and they collaborate on, and they send traffic at the tool that you build, and we all profit. Not only does it build your list, because this is actually on your platform. By the way, this is Gumroad. We'll talk more about that in a second. And because they have an audience, they can send people here. And in this case, this is a freebie, or it's actually not a pure freebie. It is a pay what you want type of offer. But at any rate, to show you what a generator is, I want to show you this particular generator because I think it's pretty demonstrative of how all generators work. So the promise of the generator is actually encapsulated in this headline: transform ordinary interviews into unforgettable conversations with this being the generator. And because this is for a bonus for the premier podcasting conference in the world called PodFest that I am partnering with, I know that as a podcaster, one of the best things you could do to make your interview a great success is to ask really insightful questions that a lot of other podcasters maybe aren't asking, or you're following certain lines of conversation that other podcasters won't do. Because what typically happens with a lot of podcast guests that go on a lot of different podcasts is they basically rerun the same thing over and over and over again, whatever, despite the podcast that they're on. They got a little script and they stick to it. That gets really boring. And the great thing is that when you get known for really developing great quality questions and asking great quality, insightful questions that perhaps take your interview off in a completely different way, it just makes it a much better experience for your audience, for sure, and gets them to stick around because you've got something different, right? You've got something more than other podcasters have. And all of that comes out of really great, well-researched questions. The problem is that when you're really doing a very serious podcast, that takes time, effort, and energy to come up with those questions, to actually do the research. So Tony and I created this generator specifically for this event. And what I want to do is I want to show you how to use it. So let me do that right now. First off, let me grab the generator. And by the way, the generator is essentially a piece of software that is not really software. It's really code or a prompt. It's sort of like a super prompt. That's the way I like to think about it, that you can plug in directly into a large language model like ChatGPT. So I've got this generator here, and I'm going to plug it in. And I know you're not seeing this yet, but I'm going to plug this in and run this as if I were going to interview you, Tony. Okay. So if I were going to interview you, this is what it's going to start doing. And let me bring this over here so you could see it work. So yeah, so I plugged in the generator. Okay. And it did all of these questions just like this. So Tony Leidig is a multifaceted professional whose career spans. And then you could start seeing to gain deeper insights into Tony Leidig's experience and perspectives, consider the following open-ended questions. Your career has evolved from photography to graphic design and public domain expertise. How have these transitions influenced your creative process? Managing a commercial printing company with high-profile clients must have been challenging. What lessons did you learn as you applied? Because I know that you've worked for Trump Tower, you've worked for a lot of different high-profile folks, and had many actual bestseller, New York Times bestseller covers that you've worked on. But so basically, you get all of these great questions just like this that are instantly researched based on this generator. And in fact, if you click here, you could see all of the citations that this generator just did very, very quickly. Now, this is just one of two generators in this little stack, but you can just see how quickly that this generator did a lot of work very, very quickly, and was able to, from that, create something that a podcaster could use and like really make some hay with. So I wanted to show folks that, Tony. So let me.
Yeah, they're actually really good questions.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea, of course, is insightful questions, right?
Yeah, they're about me, and I had to think for a minute.
There you go. See, this is the point, right? So it makes it a very good thing to use for a podcaster, essentially. And the idea here is, like, you can create these generators, which is what the AI Generator Gold program is all about. And let me just ask you this, Tony. How do folks? Because one of the things that's in fact pretty special about the AI Generator Gold program is the fact that you do not really require technical knowledge. You do not have to be a coder, for example. So how do you create these generators if, in fact, you're not technical?
Yeah, the thought process behind them, it kind of evolved over a period of time. It occurred to me, I've used ChatGPT since before it was ChatGPT. And so interacting with it as much as I had, there was this one underlying question, and that was, is it really producing the best possible result that it can? And of course, if you're familiar with how these large language models work, you input a prompt and it gives you an answer, kind of like a Q&A kind of thing. You put in something and it provides a result. And one day it occurred to me that, what if I'm not asking the right question? What if I'm not using the right verbiage that chat best understands? And that kind of led me to a place of wonder what would happen if I asked chat to tell me the best way to prompt it to get the result I'm after. And so it's just a slight adjustment, right? Rather than just me inputting something that I think is going to give me the best result, I'm actually asking chat to tell me what to input to get the best result. So it's a subtle shift. But what I discovered was that shift made all the difference in the world. It just elevated the output response by a factor of 100. versus what I was just getting on my own. And so all that a prompt generator really is, when you get right down to it, is um, essentially interacting with Chat or Claude or whichever one you choose to use with in a way where it tells you what it's looking for. It's kind of like taking a college exam, except that you have the answer key sitting right next to you, in a manner of speaking. We're getting that output from them. And so that sounds like it should be really hard, but it actually isn't. And in AI Generator Gold, there's actually over 40 different prompt generators that I've created where these generators do exactly that. They generate new prompts for you. Like if you can fill in a single spot, like topic, it'll generate a prompt for you to get the best result that you can out of Claude or out of Chat.
Yeah, man. So, and the great thing basically is that once you have the generator, right, that it makes it makes the output, the generator that you actually then go on and sell or do a partnership with, it creates it for you, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that was really the goal. Like I'm perfectly content with having to do all the heavy technical lifting to figure it all out if I can make it as absolutely simple as possible for the end user to be able to create something easily. And that really was my goal. And so so with that, you might think, well, that sounds awesome, but what exactly am I prompting it with?
Mhm.
Where does that expert information come from? Do I have to think of it all, or is there is there a process that I can use to connect with the expertise of other people to create these generators?
Yeah, which is really my next question is, can you in fact create these generators for multiple niches?
Right. Yeah, and the short answer is yes. One of the things that I really wanted to keep in mind here was, you could create a prompt or something like that that's focused on a specific topic, and anybody can do that. Honestly, it's rather easy to use. But to create a generator that can work for multiple topics, multiple niches, like for instance, any number of the generators that you pick that we provide in AI Generator Gold, they're adaptable to pretty much anything you can imagine, from uh, characters for a fantasy story, or create an Oracle deck, or how do I best SEO my website, or like we just demoed, how do we create great questions for a podcast or whatever. And so they're highly adaptable, very flexible, depending on whatever it is that you enter in. So like, let's say that you meet somebody who is an expert in organic gardening, like indoor organic gardening, raising your own little vegetables and herbs and stuff like that. You can input that information into the generators and it will produce prompts that will provide you with amazing details. Like if you wanted to create a course on that along with this expert, the prompts can do that. If you want to create a coaching program with this person on that topic, excuse me, the generators can do that. And I just randomly pulled that out of the air as an example. It'll work for literally anything. And so it really opens up the door wide because you have the exact same generators that we've included that will work for pretty much anything you can imagine. And I love that flexibility. That really was one of the important goals that I had in creating them.
Absolutely. And just to kind of put a cherry on top of your response to this question, I just wanted to show off just some of the versatility of the generators that I currently have for sale using this precise strategy. And as you can see here, I've got one that basically is a Amazon book listing generator. So in other words, it writes the your Amazon book listing. If you have a book on Amazon, my niche primarily is authors and publishers and book marketing and information product marketing, etc. That's my niche. That's where I shine. So I have a lot of expertise in that particular niche. Consequently, I myself have developed a number of generators with Tony's help. Thank you, Tony. These types of generators. But again, here's one: Amazon book listing generator. This is for a nonfiction book. The same for a fiction book, right? These are the high converting Amazon fiction book description. Here's how to, and this is actually a hot seller, a AI novel pre-structure tool that basically creates a outline for your novel. So say if you have an idea for a character or a setting or a discrete event, but you don't have the entire story kind of fleshed out, this generator will actually help you do precisely that. Here's another perfect example of this. So the back cover of your book is probably the second most important part of your book marketing, next to your cover. And this generator, again, Tony helped me create, basically writes the back cover copy of your book. Here's the other one. This will create custom jokes and humor for any situation. So social media, you're going to do a webinar, you're going to speak on a stage, you're going to speak on a webinar, and you need a specific joke or a specific type of humor that you need to that can be tailor-made for the specific circumstance. This generator will do it. And of course, we showed you this one here, the one for Podfest that'll create the all of the great questions for your podcast guests. And here's another one with again, these two are pure are purely partnership type of products, right? Where I've partnered up with Podfest here and Dr. Judith Briles here because she's got expertise, right, for her book or for how to create $1 million speech, and we created a generator out of that. So I wanted to put a finer point and show folks that you could do, just about anything under the sun with that. So that brings me to another, I think, important question, Tony, and that is, how long does it take to create a profitable generator?
Yeah, well, that's the beautiful part of it. My goal in producing the generators that we've included in our training was to make it as easy and simple as possible. So in other words, they are fully plug and play. In the training, we also are going to be showing you exactly how you can create the foundational prompts for your own prompt generators, but the 40 plus that we have in there are literally plug and play. And then the outputs from those are totally customized based upon whatever information or niche or topic that you input. So from a time perspective, you're talking about a saleable product that you would have to sell on Gumroad or wherever in under 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really just that fast.
Yeah, I know and that's because of the power of the generators that you have already coded. Right. So in other words, what you're saying, Tony, is you've done all the heavy lifting, so that right. For folks like me who have an idea for a generator, you just kind of plug in a couple variables instead of having to come up with the whole thing, and it automatically creates the generator. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you don't have to understand how it works in order to use it. That's the beautiful thing about it.
Or make money with it.
Or to make money with it. Exactly. Yeah. Which is our goal, right?
Yeah, which is the goal. And to help folks. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. That's one of the reasons why these generators do so well from a marketing standpoint, is that once you see like we demonstrated today, how quickly you can get work done, and it's quality work. Like if you were a podcaster, for example, and you wanted to quickly do research on your guest, and come up with some really cool angles that very few other podcasters are coming up with,
Right.
just like that. That took less than about 90 seconds total.
Something
So
like
that's
that.
that's super, super powerful. All right.
Well,
So
and-
here's another question for you, Tony. Do
Yeah.
you need special equipment or coding knowledge in order to do this?
No. The only thing that you really need is access to a large language model like ChatGPT or Claude. And of course, there's free versions of both of those. So you don't need anything special. You don't have to pay. I mean, I have a paid account with ChatGPT and Claude just because I'm a heavy user, and I still run out of tokens sometimes, it seems. But you don't need that in order for these to work. And that's, again, the beautiful thing. There were a number of different goals that I had in creating these. And we've already talked about a couple of those: ease of use and speed and flexibility. But another one was, the platforms where they run. What good is a generator for you if you have to pay hundreds of dollars in addition to, in order to use it? I would much rather focus on, making it so easy for free that the platform that you choose isn't even an issue. And that is certainly the case with what we've created here. And one thing that I will say too, the thought came to me before, Daniel, whenever you were talking, was I'm reminded of a podcast that I did a couple weeks ago, and the gentleman that I was talking with is an expert in webinars, and it was kind of funny. After we were done with the podcast, he messaged me privately. He's like, "Hey, would these generator things work for creating webinars?" And I'm like, "Of course." And he's like, "Yeah, but I don't mean just run of the mill kind of information. I mean like really down and dirty, detailed kind of stuff." And I said, "Sure, I'll whip something up real quick and send it over to you, and you tell me." And I did just that, and he was blown away, like, just by what these generators could do. And that's why I love that so much, because most people don't think the way that these things work. They just try to figure it out. What can I type in to get the result that I want? And you will get results, no doubt about it. But to get the level of result like Daniel showed with the podcast generator, it's really impressive at the end result that we're achieving out of these things.
Yeah, Rock, that's so crucial. I think that folks understand is that what you're bringing to the marketplace is a huge value. It's like what you're bringing to market is really helping people, or potentially helping people in a very, very big way. And that's the other thing I really love about this. And do you have any opinion as to what makes one AI generator sell better than another?
Yeah, that's a great question. One thing that I would say about that is that, the whole goal here that we're trying to achieve with these generators, just like most products, the success or failure ultimately comes down to the problems that you're solving for the end, for the end user, who your customer is. And so there's going to be certainly some types of generators that will not only perform better, but sell better based on the solutions that they're providing. So if you create a generator on the best ways to care for guppies versus providing SEO detail for your website, or the best hashtags to use with Instagram or whatever, you're going to get different responses. Now, not to say that there's anything wrong with a generator that tells you how to care for your guppies, right? But you have to look at your target audience, what the problems are that they have, how many are in your target audience. And if you're already an expert or have an interest in a certain field, you kind of have a grasp of how popular or not popular some of those markets may be. You know, some of the current popular ones are, you know, travel and, you know, crypto and just different things like that. And uh, uh, I mentioned earlier organic gardening. It's another huge market. And so uh, generators that solve problems in some of those popular markets are the ones that are going to do the best for you, uh,
Mhm.
quite simply. And of course, another question that I'm often asked is, well, okay, so if one generator sells better than another, what should I charge? You know, and the short answer is it depends. What I like to do, and this is really coming from the photographer side of me, you know, the way to tell a good story in photography or in film is to mix up your shots, small, medium, and wide, right? You have an establishing shot that may be a medium shot, and then you provide detail to your story based on close-ups or distant shots to provide context or whatever. And so I use that concept in pricing strategies for the generators that I create. So there may be a generator that has a broader appeal that works in a number of markets. And so that would kind of be like your establishing shot. And so there's a little bit more value in some respects to that than something that's very broad, you know, and
Mhm.
that anybody could create. Now, you get those finely tuned, focused ones that give a very specific result. Well, people may not be able to find that specific result other than from your generator. That means that you can charge more for it. So it's really kind of an issue of supply and demand.
Mhm.
I recommend having generators for all of the things, something that provides broad outputs, something a little more focused, and something hyper focused, you know. And so that
Gotcha.
way, in a generator suite, if you will, you may have price points anywhere from pay what you want, as Daniel mentioned earlier, clear up to maybe $97 a pop or more, depending on, you know, the solutions that it's providing.
Rock on, man. And you know, that's one of the things that, and one of the reasons why I wanted to show folks this idea, because all of these are basically discrete subsets of my expertise in some way, shape, manner, or form. For all of these, right?
Right.
It's like I know copywriting, I know marketing, so I just like I have a formula for you know for a nonfiction book listing, a one for a fiction book listing, another one for the back cover, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very, very specific, but discrete sort of slices of knowledge, so
Mhm.
that if you're like for example, the back cover copy generator, you know, I work with lots of authors and have for for over a decade now. And although they could sit down and they could write, you know, a 75 thousand word book, no problem, they actually struggle when they're trying to get some copy for the back of their book that will actually sell that book.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
this generator is like it sells like hotcakes because of that. So that's super, super important to understand, is that it's like you've got a big ball of expertise, and then you can just thin slice it, right? Based on what the market really actually needs.
Well, and
And
that
that's
brings up a really
yeah,
interesting question, Daniel. You know,
yeah.
you and I are both multifaceted as far as our business skill sets and all of that. But what if one of our viewers, um, they have like their own interests, but you know, from a perspective of, you know, the online stage or whatever, nobody knows who they are. How would they find an expert, perhaps related to their interest, and then approach that expert for creating a joint collaboration for a generator like what we've been talking about?
Yes. So that great question. And one of the things that I would just say is that speaks to probably most folks that are listening to this right now. In other
Right.
words, you have some sort of expertise in something, whatever it happens to be, and you don't yet have a community. You don't have an email list that that you could market to, that you could go on to serve. And that's one of the reasons why these AI generators are so powerful, is because you can go to a expert or an influencer or a organization, or like I've done here, an event in your niche, and say, hey, look, I have this discrete solution, and I've based it off of either industry standards or maybe your specific formula, because I bought the book, and I approached the person, and I want to do a deal with you. I want to do a collaboration, or as they say these days, a collab with you. And you have the audience, which is very important, right? That you choose experts and influence that have an audience. By the way, how do you know that they have an audience? They have an email list. You go to their website and you see that there's a sign up for their email list.
Right.
Maybe it's a squeeze page. Maybe it's some sort of an offer. That's one way you know. The other way you know is by looking at their stuff on social media. Do they have a following? Are they engaging there? Are they interacting there? Well, if both of those things are true, you're like, aha, well, this is potentially a good partnership to do with somebody, because they have something that I don't yet have, which is an audience. So you have the tool that helps their audience, and by partnering with them, you can essentially co-opt a part of their audience, so it becomes a part of your audience. And the beautiful thing about this is that once your potential expert or influencer sees the generator actually in action, I have yet to have anyone say no to me once they've actually seen it. And in fact, in AI Generator Gold, in our members area, I actually did a demo video that sold this one right here for PodFest 2025. So you'll see exactly what I said and how I put it together, and just sent it to them. They said, yes, I'll do it. This sounds great. Because it fills a specific need. And the other beautiful thing about this, by the way, is that because we use Gumroad, you could set this up as a pay what you want, including free. So in this case, with the PodFest, I can give it away for free, build my list, but also because it is a pay what you want, some people are going to pay, believe it or not. Even though you make it free and make it very clear that it can be free, or that it is free, people will throw money at you. And that's cool, right? So it's sort of a win-win-win all the way around. It's a win for the organization, or for the influencer or the expert, because they look good bringing a solution to market that they know that their demographic needs. Their demographic wins because they're getting a solution, right, that has maybe been vexing them in some way, that really slowing them down, not getting as much productivity, for example, and increasing their productivity, so therefore making more money. And of course, it works for you, because not only are you creating the generator in really minutes, but so in other words, it's not taking much time to create the solution for them,
right? But
you're also creating a way for people to join your email list and also get paid. As I say, you've heard of a vicious cycle. This is a delicious cycle, Tony.
Exactly. Well, and some of the listeners might think, but what if they say no? Well, the answer is already no if you don't create something. And it's so much easier to use this approach than the way it used to be in the past. I mean, I remember when I first got started online, there were a couple marketers that I really, really wanted to work with. They just seemed like a good fit for me, and they had this podcast that they did every couple weeks, and I forget the name of the show now, but they would package it. They were actually making online recordings available, but also creating physical discs of these shows. And it was, let's just say it was apparent that they were not cover designers. Okay. They created great content, but when it came to designing their packaging, not so much. And of course, I'm a career graphic designer. I've created over 600 book covers and all of that. And so I decided that in my mind, the best way to partner with them perhaps is to just start sharing my expertise with them for free. So I started designing covers for their podcast every month and then just sending them to them. And of course, they thanked me and everything, but that was about the extent of it until about month 4. And they said, we really appreciate what you're doing for us and how you're doing it. Is there anything that we can do to help you?
Exactly.
And that was my in. And we've been longtime friends ever since. This is, gosh, probably a decade or more ago. And of course, ultimately, we ended up doing webinars together and products together and all that kind of stuff. And it was profitable for both of us. And I love that. But with these generators today, man, making that introduction and that connection is so much easier because it's a much easier yes. You're providing, you might think, well, I'm not a cover designer, so that wouldn't work for me. Yeah, but you have these generators now that can really provide amazing content for whoever it is you're working out for or wanting to work with.
Absolutely, and that's such an important point because it's so flexible and works in so many different niches and sub niches and sub niches. As a matter of fact, the sort of the more you can niche down, in many cases the more valuable and the higher the perceived value of that for that niche. Not for everyone, obviously, but for that niche, really, really important that you could actually show that. Okay, so the great thing too is that all of these generators, well, what makes a great partnership is the fact that they have an audience. Right. That's the main thing, that they have an audience. If they have an audience, and they can reach out to that audience, which is the reason why you look for things like an email list, an opt-in form on their blog or whatever, or they have a Substack, or they have a Medium, or they've got some way to reach out and promote you should they decide to do a deal. That's great. Or they have a social media following. Lots of folks have a social media following, and big ones, right? Yeah. So yeah, those are the folks that you want to look for to potentially partner with. And by the way, we have exactly the steps in AI Generator Gold for how to approach your dream influencer, the people that you want to work with in your niche, and or adjacent niches, for example. So that's another really great part of this. So at any rate, I think we've covered quite a bit here, Tony. So for those of you that are watching and wanting to get into the program, somewhere around here, you'll see a link to where you can go watch a webinar and or go look at our informational page. So head on over there right now. Any last words of wisdom here, Tony, before we sign off?
Well, one quick thing that I want to address, and that it might be something that our watchers are considering, and that is, whenever it comes to software related ideas, very often they can become obsolete very, very quickly, and so there needs to be upgrades or those kinds of things. And so how does that impact what we're doing here with these prompt generators? And the one thing that I can say with confidence is that it's really a non-issue, you know, as far as future proofing and those kinds of things. Let's say you start creating generators and then ChatGPT announces that version 5 is coming out. You know, does that mean that this whole process breaks all of a sudden and you won't be able to use it anymore? No. As a matter of fact, if anything, as newer versions of these large language models are released, it's going to even more greatly enhance the output results that you get. And so, so very future proof. You'll be able to use these generators ongoing for a long time, and that's exciting to me. You know, so we don't have to worry about, oh crap, I just bought this and now it's broken. No, you're not going to have that experience at all. If anything, it will get better with age, we'll say.
Wow, you know, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Tony, because I didn't actually realize that.
Yeah.
That's super, super cool. Because you're right. You know, software, if you come up with any kind of a software product, it seems like you're always in there tinkering and fixing, and basically what you're saying, if it works with these lower level language model versions, then it's just going to work better with higher versions, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So folks, head on over to the link that you see somewhere around here. Maybe it's in the description. Maybe it's below. Maybe you're watching this right next to a replay. So go check that out right now. And we can't wait to see you in the members area at AI Generator Gold. You're going to love this.
Absolutely.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.